7:01, I'm going to call the February 28th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting to order. I'll start with roll call. Larry Burns.
Present.
Kenneth Farrell.
Yes.
John Cresser.
Here.
Michelle Cresser. Here. Lawrence Stevens.
Here.
At this time, I am going to call for a nomination and election of the Planning Commission Chair. Do we have a nomination for the Planning Commission Chair?
Ken Farrell. Second.
Great, I hear Ken Farrell is nominated. Any other nominations?
Nominations be closed.
Great, thank you. All those in favor for Ken Farrell for the Planning Commission Chair, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Ken, congratulations, Planning Commission Chair.
Thank you.
We're changing our mind now. Hurry up. Good to meet you.
All right, motion and nomination and election of vice chair. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
Larry Stevens.
I have a motion for Larry. Any others?
I'll take myself.
We have Larry Burns. Any others?
Larry Stevens.
He's already. So we have two. All right, so I guess by vote of hands, or do I have a motion to close nominations? I have a motion to close nominations. All right. Do I have a show of hands motion for Larry Stevens? 2, 3. Motion for Larry Burns. So that would be 2 to 3, and Larry Stevens is the vice chair. We don't have secretary and treasurer. All right. Motion to approve the February 28th agenda. Any additions, corrections? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to approve the November 29th meeting minutes. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Number 3, ordinance 545 outdoor dining for commercial district.
So this ordinance, a little background on it, the reason it's made it this far is Bob Weimer and Patrick's 64 East Lincoln Avenue. Okay, 64 East Lincoln Avenue came to the zoning hearing board for to have basically an awning put outside of this building. During that zoning hearing board, it came up, are you allowed to have outdoor dining in the core commercial district? There was some discussion about it. Per the zoning hearing board ordinance, which was included in the packets, the applicant shall obtain any necessary conditional use approval from Hatfield Borough for outside dining use prior to the issue of any building permit. So because that was in their order, Borough Council decided that they wanted to look at the outdoor dining ordinance. The Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee had got together. Mr. Weimer had made some recommendations that were where he previously was allowed to have outdoor dining due to land development. There were some recommendations he did not like. That was part of that decision, which included you have to have outdoor dining at 55 degrees and above. He wanted to see that eliminated. He also wanted to be able to have outdoor live entertainment on Saturdays from basically daylight savings to the end of daylight savings. So March to November till 11 p.m. just on Saturdays. Planning, Building, and Zoning met with the solicitor and came up with the first draft of this draft of the core commercial dining, which was February 14, 2022. It went to council. Council, you'll see all the redlined additions. Council made some other suggestions, which being able to talk about it, decibel level, where some of the neighbors had complained that when Hatchers was having outdoor dining, that it was too outdoor dining and live entertainment, it was too loud and there should be a decibel level on there, which I believe in the February 22nd, 2022, Solicitor Harper included that as 70 decibels will be permitted. Some other changes that were noted was outdoor dining would be allowed by right unless you had a bar, unless you were gonna have outdoor dining on the sidewalk, or you were gonna be in the borough right of way. So you could basically have outdoor dining in the core commercial district unless you fell into these categories, you would have to go to conditional use. You would also have to go to conditional use if you wanted to have live entertainment, which Mr. Weimer wants to have, which would be, bands on weekends. So this is where we at right now. Borough Council did authorize to advertise this, and it's on for a public hearing on March 16th. We're trying to move the process forward because Mr. Weimer has to go through this process of the ordinance before he can build, then has to go to conditional use before he can even have a band outside, and then he'll have to build his awning, and it's been taking several months. I think he went to zoning hearing later last year. So again, we're several months into the process. We were just trying to move it along as much as possible. Borough Council would like to know the Planning Commission's comments, if they want to see any changes, they have any revisions they'd like to see the solicitor make or council consider. I did have the zoning officer and the code officer look at this. I'm waiting for his comments back, and I also told him to talk to the Montgomery County Planning Commission for their review and response as well. That's kind of where we are in the process. I wanted to note that I believe in revision from the 22nd of February, it does still note in item C on page 8, outdoor dining shall be permitted year-round, providing the outdoor temperature is 55 degrees or above. I believe that's supposed to be eliminated. Am I correct, Larry and Michelle?
Yes.
So I believe the providing the outdoor is supposed to be eliminated. It's supposed to be period. Outdoor dining should be permitted year-round. D is where she had listed the 70 decibels. I did a little research. 70 decibels is about as loud as your dishwasher or your dryer running. So I believe that's not supposed to be the way I read it. It's not supposed to be at Hattrick's, it's that loud. Your neighbors, your surrounding neighbors, that's how loud it's supposed to be on their property.
These are the property lines.
Yes, yeah. So I guess at the property lines, as Ken just said, it's supposed to be as loud as a washer or a dryer running. That was the comparison of what I looked up 70 decibels was. And then just K, I think the word prohibited should just be removed, and it should say permitted if approved by the fire marshal. Yeah, just because I know we don't necessarily allow open burning in the borough, but if they're UL, or I think that's what they're called, regulated, there are some instances where we could allow some, not necessarily a fire pit, I think planning, building and zoning talked about, but you can have gas, propane or whatever, fire for heating, and he did suggest he would like to put heat lamps outside when it was a little bit cooler. So we're just kind of looking for any feedback, and I know that Larry and Michelle are on planning, building and zoning as well, so they've been here since day one. So you can chime in and any additions or corrections we see.
So C is out with the 55 degrees or above.
Yeah, that should be out. It should just be outdoor dining should be permitted year round.
Snow.
And you never know.
This is only for the core commercial district.
Correct. It's only for the core commercial.
I'm just thinking about, you could really get into something with people. If you have a large picnic at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's like a question in E, where it requires them to essentially move tables, chairs, and umbrellas inside. It seems a little excessive.
See, that depends. Because if they were, I know down at Vinny's, they move all their stuff in. Yeah, you gotta be careful, because if nobody's there, and we got some of these storms that blow up that we've got, you got missiles flying around.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
maybe
umbrellas
during bad
especially.
weather would cover that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, it's probably,
every night, I think would be.
you would think they would do it on their own anyway, just
You
for
would
that,
think.
for theft,
A lot of times, stuff is in the ordinance. You don't necessarily need to enforce it unless there's a problem.
Yeah.
Unless they start becoming missiles.
Yeah.
And then you enforce it, but otherwise.
Yeah.
Just so you know, conditional use, it runs with the property. So when they get outdoor dining, they only have to come one time to get the conditional use for the outdoor dining. They don't have to come each time that they want to have a guest play music. It's running with the property. It's
One and done.
one and done.
So if he would come for conditional use for his outdoor dining would be covered if he wants outdoor dining mixed with live entertainment. Once council would grant that for the property, he then has that blanketed for umpteenth amount of time.
The outdoor dining is a special exception, or you're allowed to have it, he only needs a special exception for the music, the live music.
Right, so when we originally spoke, planning, building and zoning, we had said that outdoor dining should be permitted by right in the core commercial district, but if he wanted live entertainment, then he would have to come back for conditional use specifically for the live entertainment. But the way this was worded in number one, it just says permitted only by conditional use and only in the core commercial, if the use includes an outdoor bar, live entertainment, or encroaches on the public right of way or sidewalk. In my personal opinion, I kind of was like, well, that seems like he has to go to conditional use for outdoor dining because he has a bar outside.
He does.
Yeah, so,
So he's coming for the conditional use for the bar and for the live music.
and I would say, I'm gonna get clarification with Kate on that, yeah, because when planning, building and zoning talked, it was just for live entertainment, that he would have it by right for outdoor dining in the core commercial.
Yeah. It was something small, but it was, so they didn't have to keep going inside.
Right, and he does have a full service bar outside. Yeah, I know it's smaller, but he does have, it's full service out there. So I will get clarification on that we'll have to go for both then. Cause if it has a bar, if that's what is that how you would read it? That's how I took it. So if council does not want, or you don't want him to have to go for outdoor dining, even though he has a bar, that's fine, you just want him to go for, live music or live entertainment, that's something that you can discuss at borough
No, because
council.
you can have a bistro type setting that you don't need to have a.
Right, yeah,
You can put a few tables out and that would be
outdoor dining,
approved, that'd be outdoor dining, that's
Yeah.
approved. Then I think you're better off because then council can set conditions of the conditional use and conditions he has to abide by. And especially, maybe not this case, but if it's a business owner that, maybe has not been in compliance before, this is a way that council on an individual basis can put conditions on to make sure that that business does it the right way. Again, I'm not implying this is
yeah.
the case here, I'm just saying across the board.
Question about the decibels.
Yeah.
We haven't found that?
So when, we just quickly, when we were sitting here today, I looked it up, I'm like, oh, I wonder how much 70 decibels is. An example was a running washer or a dryer. Another example was you're driving down the street in your car and the windows are up and the noise that you hear is 70 decibels. A vacuum is 80 decibels. So I guess it would be if the property lines, if you were standing on the property line, it couldn't be any louder than a running washer or a dryer.
This bands play soft rock, you're saying, or something? I mean,
Acoustic? I have no
it
idea.
seems like that's kind of loud. Washer or dryer?
Yeah, but that's the
Wait a
property,
minute, is that sneakers in
No,
it and
that's-
stumbling?
that's the property. So keep in mind is that it may be 100 decibels at the stage, but it only can be 70 decibels at the property line. So that the people at the retirement home aren't getting flooded out.
Right,
He can also, if he chooses to put some kind of sound barrier,
barrier.
put a, loud structure with plants in it, or we put
Right.
he put a sound board. If he wants to try to
Some kind of sound.
make it a little bit louder. Or he's gotta turn the music down. I mean, it's not the band music center, it's,
Right.
We got any feedback from the neighbors at this point yet that we're aware of?
So the only neighbors that have really said anything was, a neighbor on East Vine Street had made comments previously that it's very, very loud and he can hear, like, he's attending the party.
Response.
East Vine Street, yeah. I do know that I believe I have talked to some other council members that I think this building, it echoes off of this building and, you know, you can hear it. I know that it is, you can hear it around town. Yeah, they, yeah,
It echoes off the building, so it sounds like you're like in surround
Yeah.
sound. Yeah.
I mean, do you hear it? I mean,
Yes.
is it annoying? Is it loud? Is it?
It's actually kind of comical because on Saturdays they do karaoke. So,
Yeah, so it's-
I mean, I find it funny, but I mean,
Yeah,
what I
that would
find
be-
funny, someone else might find really annoying. I don't know. And then when they're supposed to turn it off, it's done. I mean, you don't hear any more than
Okay, so they stick.
that. Yeah.
are you?
I'm just curious.
Yes, are
I'm
you
just curious.
comfortable with the 11 PM timeframe, with 11 PM?
On a
Right?
Saturday?
Yeah, some people had asked about 10 o'clock, that was a number that was thrown around, but they kind of fell to 11.
For Saturday,
Yeah.
And I had asked too if there was any complaints from the retirement home, and there wasn't any.
I figured by 11 they're passed out.
Well, maybe they like it too. I mean, it might be something to,
Well, that's true, you know,
like,
right?
an event. for
Bunch
the
of old
night.
hippies over there.
Yeah, I think his real interest here is about all this stuff. It's the idea that he does have an intention perhaps of selling. So that's why he was sufficient for getting this all done anyway in the first place.
Yeah, I had spoke to Mr. Weimer and asked him, and he said, sure, if it was the right price, he would be interested in selling, I'm sure anyway. He really does, he expressed he wanted to stay in the borough, and be able to do this, but he wants to be able to, it's not gonna help him if he can't have the live entertainment, or
Right.
he can't have the outdoor dining, because as he expressed, someone could go down the street in the township to the pub and eat outside in 10-degree weather if they wanted to.
So what?
He feels he needs this to stay.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And this is just my ignorance is.
Where to go.
What change?
Yeah.
He needs it to stay or to go. All right, because if he has it,
You can sell it.
yeah,
Of more value.
yes,
What changed from, he had outdoor dining before,
Mhm.
so what changed that he now needs this ordinance revised?
So, the way I understood it, and I don't sit on the zoning hearing board, was, and I included it in your packets, was when he went to land development, this was before outdoor dining existed, he got outdoor dining in land development, and that was done in, say, August of 2019, or 2009. And then the outdoor dining ordinance became enacted in October of 2009. So it was my opinion, and I'm not a zoning officer, that he was pre-existing non-conforming.
Yes,
He already
I
had
agree
that.
with that.
I don't believe that's how the zoning hearing board saw it. That's all I can say is because their order specifically listed, as I mentioned, must obtain necessary conditional use approval from Hatfield Borough for outdoor dining. But as you see in the stuff that he had that and land development, because there was no ordinance that existed.
Right.
I shared that and nothing really came of it. And I will admit, his resolution for outdoor live entertainment did expire, so he would at least have to come back for live entertainment. And I thought it would just be, if you wanted to update the ordinance on its own, that would be fine, and then he could come just for live entertainment. I think it was decided that we wanted to move forward and do it all together as that conditional, or as outdoor dining and live entertainment all together in one ordinance.
I guess it's a good point if he's coming back for live music. If you're gonna get the live music, you're gonna get the conditional use for the outdoor dining, so it goes hand in hand, but I agree with you, would be, for pre-existing or use because it was started prior to the ordinance being enacted. Again, he's gonna get one, he's gonna get the other, but it's a great decision.
Yeah, and so that was just their order, so now, obviously, Bob and code, like, has to follow what the zoning hearing board order said, and can't give him anything because it's kind of not decided, so that's why we're trying to push the process forward as quickly as you can, even though you may have to advertise differently for zoning, and, yeah. So, I had suggested to Mr. Weimer to, at least do all his backdoor work, or like, get the permit submitted, get all the plans and do everything, so once this goes and the ordinance passed, then you, and I'm sure, is there a 30-day like appeal period, because it's zoning? So then, once you have to pass that appeal period, then he has to go to conditional use. He has everything and it's just ready to walk out the door when, if council would approve
What
it.
he can do is conditional use during that appeal period.
Okay, good,
He's just, he's moving at his own risk.
yeah,
So, I mean, same with building permits, he can obtain building permits, again, he's doing it at his own risk. So if he starts at day 29, somebody comes in and files an appeal, then he has to stop, so that's really his decision how he wants to do it.
yeah, I think his major concern was the time that this is taking, or that it's going to take. And obviously the cost of lumber, and now that he, can't book any good bands right now, and they're all being booked up, that he might not be able to get good entertainment for the summer. Those are just some concerns that he expressed. I said, oh, well, my suggestion was start the process and do all the back stuff before, and not just wait until everything's approved and then get the process going. Do as much as you can behind the scenes, and I can tell him that he can do the conditional use, and but he'll be doing that at his own risk.
That was my reason for the question about, if there been any complaints, because if our goal has been to push the core commercial district to be more, to get more in there, we got a guy here that wants to do something, we should try to help the guy unless there's issues.
Yeah.
And if there's not, then let's move this thing along, because, I mean, nice weather's coming and, then he's wasting time. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and but for the handful of complaints since he's had live music since 2016, maybe, or whatever they were,
It hasn't been.
had maybe a handful of complaints. This past summer was the most recent one, and that was on Vine Street. And that was the first one I heard in at least a year, if not two, but then we did go through COVID, so people just weren't doing anything.
But so,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Are there any recommendations of changes to this proposed ordinance?
Just the changes you noted.
It states that if he sells, the person has to come in.
Other making that like a condition of would that be conditional use? If you would sell it, the new owner would have to come back.
Additional use runs with the property.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think he would have to come in because the conditional use was granted, it's like a variance, variance runs with the property. That if he would have to abide by the conditions set forth by council in the conditional use. And if he doesn't want, like he wants to go to 11:30, he would have to come back to amend the conditional use and get a new conditional
Right.
use. I don't believe,
I mean, so the council would have some sort of control.
About changing.
Yeah,
Well,
if
yeah.
there was complaints or whatever, I guess.
well, I guess then the issue and the question, and it's probably a key question, is if it's sold, does council want the new owners to come in for a new conditional use for the same? Now, again, even if the conditional use runs with the property, then they would have to put that condition in there that every time the property is sold, they would have to come in for a new one, and that would allow council to, but
Do you have a grievance though about that? Because then that would be restricting
no, because
for him selling it. You know
well,
what
no.
I'm saying? That would be causing him an issue when trying to sell it.
Again, if you grant it one time, you're gonna grant it a second time. It's not, it was already granted once.
Maybe that's a Kate question, because I
Yeah.
think you're right. Okay, I think you're right. It's like getting a variance.
I don't
So if I
think-
get a variance for a building, and then sold the property, the new owner doesn't have to come in and ask for a variance for the building.
you know, I don't think,
I will ask her.
yeah, I don't think.
I'll send her an
we
email
need to,
tomorrow.
But council may want to have a condition that it is sold, they gotta come back in, but I don't think you need to, because, you know, it was conditional use of real property. You granted that use by a condition set forth by council. So I don't think you need it, but that would be, you know, I guess that would be our question, comment that we would have. How does council want to handle it?
Okay.
Two members of council are here, so we can have that discussion with council when they come forth to discuss this.
Okay.
So is there a recommendation to, or, so we're asking for a recommendation of the planning commission for approval of this ordinance and forward back to council?
We didn't see if it needed to change. We recommend to go with it.
With the except with the one clarification about whether they want, if the
Yeah.
property is sold.
She's gonna find that.
Who's on second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Yes, old business, Edward Square.
I was just gonna give you a quick update. As you've seen, buildings are going up on the corner of Coffell and West Vine. Right now, they're building on lots 1, 3, and 4, and they've started the foundation on lot 2. So we're moving the process forward. It's been real quiet on that front, just, with the developer, I haven't really heard anything. We just seem to be moving the process forward.
The next time Chad's inspector is out,
Mhm.
they got dirt everywhere.
Yes,
They started doing the foundation for that middle building. And I don't think they got all the erosion control measures up. So I would just have him just take a look at it.
I'm assuming that later, because it's gonna start raining in the spring, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he'll be, I'm sure he's gonna be there this week sometime to do an inspection there.
yeah,
So just make it, have him just look at the erosion control measures, because they got dirt everywhere when they're digging that foundation.
okay. Yeah, I noticed a lot of mud on the road, and its sign says no mud will leave this property. Mud all over. Yeah, okay, no problem.
This house is sold.
Not that I know of, we haven't had anything come through the borough, and I haven't heard from Mr. Carricosa that they were or were not sold. But I haven't talked to him, I guess I talked to him in January, was the last time. He had a question about he wanted to use an existing pipe that was out there. And we told him no last year, and then he asked me, and I told him no this year. I think it's because Mike
The answer
left.
didn't change in a year?
Yeah, I was like, no, they have to replace it. That's the last time I heard.
Tennis court?
Unfortunately, I haven't heard from Bennett's Court. I reached out, left, some messages, emails, just trying to check the status on the property, seeing, how the emergency egress was coming along. I know that was holding them up. Haven't heard anything back. I do know, we're talking to Keith, he is doing some development in other municipalities right now, so they're still up and running. I know he said to Mike at the end of last year, he wanted to tie up some things elsewhere before he focused on moving into the borough. So I just assume that's what he's doing. I haven't heard if he got the fire egress or emergency egress, sorry, for the development. And I just was looking to bring him in to have a conversation of what your plans are. Do you still want to move forward? And what if he cannot get that? Is that a stipulation to wash your hands of the project? Is that a stipulation for him? Just to have the conversation, because I know he was having difficulty obtaining. So that's kind of where we are.
That house right next to, it's right across from the fire guys.
Yeah, Stoffers, he bought that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you should have solved that problem because you could expand that
Yeah,
because he's had, that's that property now.
yeah, it's bigger to go, if he takes that down, it'll be bigger to go in, but I guess the idea was, once you're in there and you're in the cul-de-sac out back, then could be stuck. Right, how do you get out back, if that's an issue?
I think that, there's ways to solve that, and you can, at least the radius of the cul-de-sac. You could do some kind of a boulevard entrance, widen your entrance, landscaped island or something like that. So-
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah,
So if one is being blocked off, they can go to the other. But I think the discussion needs to be had with the fire marshal. Well, the fire marshal, approved. Certainly, I think the desire of the borough is to have secondary means of access, and it could be a chain access. It's not being used, it could be just a grass pavers, a stabilized entrance, just so trucks have to get out or cars have to get out, they can do that. But I think the discussion should be to have the fire marshal, can't get this, what can we do now? How hard is he trying?
right, and like I said, I don't know, so I'd like to at least be able to connect with him or his engineer and touch base to find out, is this what's holding you up, or are you just busy with other projects as well? And I don't have that answer.
You can't recruit out there because that's a small alleyway.
Yeah.
Now he's got that whole house. on the other
Yeah,
side.
no, I get that.
And I believe it was purchased for the idea of changing, flow. So
Yeah, but we were pretty adamant that we wanted that secondary means of ingress.
Right.
That the borough wanted it, and that he was trying to get it. Not going to get it. I think the borough would want to get some documentation of, did really try to get it, and then it's proven that, yeah, he did try to get it, can't get it. I think then the discussion with the fire marshal, like, probably other ways, increasing the cul-de-sac bulbs so the fire trucks and emergency management can get through, maybe widen the entrance, put a boulevard or something in, and something along those lines, maybe widen the street. If you can't get it, then you're gonna have to widen the street so that, the Meadows, prime example, difficulty they have there, I would think that we would want widen the street, maybe one cul-de-sac, if you can't get the secondary means of access. But I think the ultimate decision will come by the fire marshal to make sure that emergency management can get through and get satisfied.
I will reach out again and see where he stands. I know he did talk to the Hatfield Village Apartments, and that's kind of where we left off. He was trying to get that through them and their property, and I think they were running into some issues.
feel like they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
43 Roosevelt.
So 43 Roosevelt just spoke to the developer last week. We were working on some in-house items to bring his escrow account up to date. Now that that has occurred, we're moving forward. He's going to be submitting more. I think Chad has to review some stuff, and we're going to push the process forward, and hopefully we see some permits come in. I think he wants to demo what's proof out there and start building, but he had to bring his escrow account up to date, and that has happened as of the end of last week. So now that's going, I believe it's the same developer that's building on Lambert Street. He's building the single home there on Lambert. So definitely moving forward with Lambert. So
These are twins, right? So
yeah, it's like a quad. I think it's two sets. Like, yeah.
application.
We're in the final phase of codification right now. I received the final draft back. Kate, Chad, myself, and Code are reviewing the final, just to see if we can pick up any minor things. There was some stuff with the floodplain ordinance and some different things that we picked up on. No major changes. Up to date, we have sent everything that's been adopted. So, if this moves forward with outdoor dining, hopefully we can get that in as well. If that passes in March, the cutoff date is the end of March. So we should have a nice new borough code book and have codification completed. I would say, maybe we get something in April or May, they'll be printing our books and delivering them to us.
Without being guessing for a real expansive answer here.
Mhm.
What was with the floodplain?
Oh, there was just some minor things that it was listed, like it would reference the chapter that it wasn't referenced in. It was just like more technical errors, so it should be listed under whatever in the zoning, and it was actually referencing, say, chapter 26, when it should have been referencing chapter 25. It was just typos. It wasn't anything specifically with like the ordinance itself, just like typos of where it was inserted in the codification process. They felt it fit better under wherever they put it.
Just county ordinance.
Yeah.
So reference different sections in our sections. Township sections versus.
Yeah. And yeah, that was really the only issue.
Ordinance number 543, amending chapter 2 animals.
This is your feral cat ordinance. Planning Commission saw it before, so I wanted to let you guys know that, this was passed Borough Council at February 16th regular meeting. Just some of the highlights was that 6 cats is considered, a nuisance. If a neighbor complains, then the code enforcement officer will have to take that complaint and then go out to the property and cite the property or give a notice of violation, per the ordinance. So the main discussion that took place was just if the number of cats was big, we decided on 6, and it was adopted, and now we can enforce, feeding of feral cats in the borough.
And I'm a cat enforcement officer.
That's your job.
There's a nobody enforcement officer.
Yeah, in all honesty, I think it's just going to come down to if neighbors send in photos, neighbors send in pictures, and then Bob will get in the car and drive around and see if he sees anything.
Count the cats.
Yep,
You know, I saw the cats out in the street too. I was gonna take their picture.
yeah,
But I didn't. They're not my cats though.
yeah.
They're not my cats.
I think that's kind of just the only way right now, per the ordinance I'd be handled. The police aren't interested, there's no animal control officer,
You know,
there's
sometimes
nothing.
that's people don't with the ordinance.
Yep.
We'll keep them in compliance.
Yeah. So, since it was enacted, he hasn't had any complaints.
There we go.
So we'll see.
Problem solved.
Yeah, so we'll see. Those
Cats
are the-
packed up and moved out.
Yeah. so the last- Yeah,
Go to the town.
They're in Lansdale.
All right, 5 is new business. We have the meeting dates here. One of the questions, you changed August 8th.
yeah, and that's how it was advertised when we did advertise.
It was advertised August 8th.
Yes, yeah, that must have been the old one before we changed it. Before we went to and advertised it in December, I called that to change it to the 8th, and I must have saved it, not saved it on my computer.
Notwithstanding the fact that this was advertised when all the other meetings were advertised, if there's any date problems we have, we can amend it and we can re-advertise if need be. So Jamie and I thought we should put this on the agenda just to basically for the planning commission to ratify. Unless there's changes that anyone or see, knows now. I mean, obviously vacations and stuff, know what you're doing in September, but at least for now, we can get them set. So, are there any discussion on the meeting dates? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the meeting.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. What do you guys think about changing the time instead of 7? Make it 6, start at 6. Is that,
That's kind of the,
That's into their rush hours then. Yeah, that's when we're busy.
about 6:30?
listen, I agree with you, all right?
I mean, most of the
But I
time we
do
get
know-
out
I
fairly
know from
early.
experience, she's right, all right? It's the happy hour of accidents. So,
Well, I get that, but
and what ticks me off all the time is when it's quiet, if it is quiet, but it's not, well, even tonight before I came up here. Yeah, I wish I knew the schedule for when people were gonna have mishaps. My life would be really cool. But we're not catering to me. But 7 o'clock has been the time, so let's continue with it. Okay. All right.
just thought I'd bring it up.
Because
I
it's
mean,
sort
some
of,
of us get up early, well, I get up at 4 in the morning. And like I said, most of the time,
I don't.
our
sleep.
meetings are short, but occasionally we have to once a month. 10 o'clock. I'm just trying to find those. All right, just a thought.
Well, maybe we can have a meeting that's. We know we're getting an application that's contested, or we're getting an application like you haven't met.
A bunch of stuff on this.
Or we have, 20 things on the agenda. Maybe on that case by case basis, maybe we'll start, keep our fingers crossed. And it's not gonna have to be busy. That'll give us an opportunity to start early, otherwise we can keep it at 7. And, one case, if the world does come to an end, with towing cars, well, you're not gonna be here anyway, so, but, that way we can handle it on a case by case basis, we have.
We would be able to do that.
Yeah, you would just have to advertise.
Yeah, we just have to re-advertise for that meeting. so.
Yeah. And I will know if Bennett's Court comes in and it's gonna be a big presentation, maybe you start at 6 o'clock that night and you advertise for that. We can obviously communicate and make that decision.
Which it might be good for the person like Bennett's Court. They
Yeah.
could go first in the agenda, get them out of here.
Yeah.
That's
I should have the first question. Did you solve the problem?
John, we're gonna know that when they come.
I understand you.
But they're not gonna be scheduled for a meeting until that issue is resolved, because otherwise
Wasting time.
we're wasting time.
okay. No, that's a good idea.
Or if the agenda's long, then it's easy to re-advertise.
Yeah, it's not-
Sending an email and put it in the paper.
All right, so motion to consider the 2022 planning commission meeting dates, so I have a motion.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Our next meeting is Monday, April 4th at 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? All those in favor, aye.
I'm
Ayes have it.